Hi folks, I'm Dennis Wholey. Thanks so much for joining us. Our guest has won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama 3 times. He's probably America's greatest living playwright. Some of his plays, The Zoo Story, The American Dream, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and this year, Me, Myself, and I. A personal conversation with Edward Albee next. This is America. This is America is made possible by Hyundai Motor America, maker of the 2007 Sonata. The National Education Association, the nation's largest advocate for children and public education. The Rotendaro Family Trust, the CTC Foundation, and the American Life TV Network. Edward, good to sit with you once again. It was a number of years ago we sat around the dinner table and we had a conversation back in Washington.
Yes, we did.
I saw the play last night. I call it The Play.
Peter and Jerry.
Peter and Jerry, but really two plays, huh?
Well, it began as one play.
Yes.
It began as The Zoo Story. And then I wrote another play called Home Life, letting us see the character Peter before he goes to the park and is accosted by Jerry. But it occurred to me that the whole thing becomes one play. And that's the way it's going to be performed from now on. I'm not going to let people perform either Home Life or The Zoo Story by itself. It's now amalgamated into one play called Peter and Jerry.
You think of 1958 when The Zoo Story came about and a great success for you, launched you as a playwright. Did you have any thought that you were going to be a playwright?
Well, mind you, I knew I was a writer when I was 10, and I went around for the next, 20-some years, failing at all other branches of writing. Was a bad poet, bad novelist, bad short story writer, bad essayist. There wasn't much left to try. So I wrote a play, and it was called The Zoo Story. And that changed things a little bit. I think everybody has a different age when they come into the possibility of writing like themselves.
So this idea of being a playwright and struggling with some other forms, when you think back as a kid, were you writing poetry? Were you writing short stories?
Stuff, as I said, novels, poetry, short stories, everything.
What had you read? What had you seen that you liked, that captivated you about doing something for the stage?
Well, I started seeing plays when I was very young. My adoptive family sent me into the theater to see musicals. We would go see Ed Wynn doing his one-man shows, where he had a little telephone act. And then always when I was sent there, I was put up in a box, stage left, and Ed Wynn would call me up and force me to talk to him in front of 1,000 people. That was interesting, too. I was, 8, 9, 10 years old. That was fun. So I started seeing theater when I was pretty young, and I started acting when I was away at school, even before my voice changed.
Did you, what kind of roles did you take on?
Well, before my voice changed, I played women.
You did?
Yeah.
Can you remember the first time you tread the boards or as a woman?
I do. I was a middle-aged British matron in a Cockney restaurant trying to order something which the Cockney waiter called vol au vent à la jardinerie. Somewhere I got sprayed by a seltzer bottle.
Did you have fun as an actor? Did you like trying on different costumes, different characters?
Yeah, sure, and then my voice changed and I started playing guys, and that was even more fun. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
You left home when you were 18, 19, 18, and ended up in the village.
Sure.
But you said, what was the village like at that time?
Extraordinary. All of the creative people, the majority of the young, talented, avant-garde creative people had moved to New York and moved to the village. The abstract expressionist painters, the beat poets, everybody was there.
So we're talking about like around the 50s, just started the 50s, end of the 40s, 50s?
50s, late 40s, early 50s, and into the 60s. It was a very exciting time.
Were you all in the same boat? Were you all kind of poor and doing these menial...
Nobody was famous yet. Nobody had an agent. And we all liked each other's work and didn't cost anything to get into anything. And it was a great time.
So you're hanging out with writers and musicians, composers, I guess, painters and things like that?
Sure.
And was there a gay scene at that time in the village?
What do you mean by a gay scene?
Well, I just
there were a lot of gay people in the village.
Yeah.
Including me.
Right.
And we all knew where to go to find friends. Sure.
But was that part of the art scene at the time?
I've never thought that being gay was the part of anything except being gay.
So
there were straight artists and gay artists.
Were you surprised? But I want to go back to this acting thing. Did you go up for any plays, or did you try out?
After I got thrown out of college?
Well, you got thrown out of a couple of schools, didn't you, along the way?
Of course.
Were you a rebel with a cause?
Yes, my cause was I wanted to be educated the way I thought I should be educated, and they wanted to educate me according to their lights.
Yes, and
they kept throwing me out.
You said, now, born in the district, right? Or Virginia?
Well, in Virginia, I think, and adopted out of Washington, D.C. when I was a week old. So that was the end of my being a Southerner.
Westchester, Larchmont, and Republican, and your dad was a bit of a playboy.
Even then, there were Republicans like the ones we have today, the people to the right of Genghis Khan.
You said if Attila the Hun was up for a vote, they would have voted for him.
Oh, certainly, yes.
But your dad was a bit of a playboy, wasn't he?
Oh, sure.
And your mother...
Short, unattractive man. Yes, playboy, of course, with money, of course.
With money. Now, he was heir to the great vaudeville chain, right?
Yeah, right.
And
he didn't do any work.
But what did they want you to do?
To do...
A
lawyer, a corporate executive, something understandable and acceptable.
And playwriting was not acceptable?
Oh, no, of course not.
Did you steal books from the library? Did you hide things under your pillow? Were you reading?
I tried to borrow books from the family library downstairs, all these wonderful leather-bound books that they had in there that nobody ever read. And I was criticized one morning very severely at the family breakfast that everybody had to attend, my grandmother and everybody. There was a book missing from the library. I had to apologize. Oh, I took it upstairs last night and read it. Well, there's a hole there in the line of books. It happened to be a novel by Turgenev.
Okay. So Russian, right? Yeah. So, but something was out of order. Something was missing. Very wealthy home, huh?
Yeah, they had a lot of money.
And they had, grandmother was nice. She left you a little legacy when you moved.
Well, that was the other grandmother, the paternal grandmother. A legacy about as tiny a legacy as you can get. It gave me about $25 a week.
When you said at about 5, you realized that you were adopted.
Yeah.
You said you were kind of relieved.
Yeah, I was quite happy
That's
about
a funny thing to say.
Well, I didn't feel that I had any relationship with these people. We didn't communicate at all well. See, I don't think they were any good at being parents. They'd never been, and maybe they didn't know how to do it. And maybe I wasn't all that good about being a kid. I don't know, about being a son. But we really didn't relate much.
But now you got thrown out of one school when you were younger, and then...
I got thrown out of Lawrenceville.
Lawrenceville.
Got through Valley Forge Military Academy.
Were you a good soldier?
No, No, I got through.
Okay.
And I got out of there by pretending to be sick. And, they didn't want a dead cadet on their hands, so they let me go after 2 years. Then I went to Choate, the only place in my life I ever graduated from.
Oh,
good
congratulations,
school. Good school, where they encouraged...
You did get a good education, didn't you?
That's one thing I'm grateful to these people for adopting me.
I thought of that.
They gave me the best education money could buy. And so I left home.
Yep. And never kind of saw your dad again.
No,
huh?
no.
Not really.
But saw her after she got older and sick. Everything dried up. The money dried up, except for that tiny little $25 a week.
What'd you do for odd jobs?
Oh, a lot of them. Waiter at a short order restaurant.
Any good? Any good?
I was pretty good at it.
Okay.
I worked at a bookstore. I worked in G. Schirmer's record company for a while, but they let me go because I was letting poor young musicians steal books and scores.
Good for you.
But the job I liked most was delivering telegrams for Western Union. That was good. I got to meet an awful lot of interesting people.
Just like knock on the door? And
Yeah.
there's something in Virginia Woolf, isn't there, about a telegram?
Yes.
Tell me.
That's for the end of the third act.
Somebody comes in
with a telegram announcing that the son has died. Yes, and I referred to the telegram delivery boy as Crazy Billy, who happened to be a good friend of mine.
And you did that, huh?
I delivered death messages also. Yes, that was terrible.
Hey, here's something I wanted to know about. I was reading a little bit about your foundation.
Yeah.
And the barn on Montauk.
In Montauk, yes.
Where do you say on Montauk? In Montauk?
In Montauk. It's not an island. Montauk is not an island.
Yeah.
On Long Island, in Montauk.
So you have the barn, and the people, artists, writers, composers, sculptors, they can come for a week or so during...
A month.
For a month?
For a month at a time.
And
just quiet. We provide them living
time.
Space, working space, and the quiet they need to get away from their jobs and do some work.
Now, here's the thing that I was kind of interested in. I kept reading William Flanagan. His name as associated with...
Right. He was my first partner.
Right.
A composer who was about 7 or 8 years older than I.
Right.
And he was very important. He really...
Mentor, kind of?
Yeah, mentor. He continued my education after school. And I learned an awful lot by knowing him.
But now, here's the thing that I wanted to ask you about, because something is rattling around in my brain. It said in some of the research that he was really a heavy drinker.
Oh, sure.
Right. And then...
And that's how he died, drink and alcohol and drugs eventually. They got to him.
And they said that you drank a lot at that time?
Well, not then, because I couldn't afford anything more than beer. And you can't become an alcoholic on beer. You can't do it. You can try.
Oh,
hard.
I don't know. I think I can speak. I think I can speak to the last 5 years of my drinking.
You can become a lush, but I don't think you can become an alcoholic.
Well, I couldn't tolerate the hard liquor anymore. I couldn't. So the last 5 years was just...
So how long was your heavy drinking?
I think probably about, 5 to 10 years.
I think mine was about 10 years, too.
Is that it?
Yeah.
And then did it just come to a point where you say, like we all do, like, I'm wasting my life, or I'm not going to do anything,
I said to myself,
or I'm going to die?
I'm either going to be what I want to be, which is a writer, or I'm going to be a falling down drunk.
Yeah.
Make your mind up, Edward.
It's painful, isn't it? When a doctor down in Atlanta called it the disease of loneliness. And I always thought that was a wonderful phrase, and it resonated with me, because you kind of push everybody.
It is interesting that an awful lot of intelligent, creative people do have a drinking problem, but an awful lot of people without a brain in their head have a drinking problem, too. So it's not isolated to people with brains.
Do you drink now?
No.
No. Oh, no.
Don't have time.
Oh, good for you.
No, I stopped cold turkey, same week that I stopped smoking.
My goodness. So how long has that been?
35 years, 40 years.
Oh, my word. But now I want to get back.
I did my heavy drinking between the ages of, I'd say 30 and 40.
And rightly so, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's the question I have, though. But with something rattles around in my mind. It said that you and Mr. Flanagan, William Flanagan, when you were drinking, would have these knockdown, drag-out fights, or bitterness.
Then the assumption was that it turned into George
and
Martha.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you.
That's nonsense.
Nonsense. Okay, good.
Martha's a woman.
Well, yeah, but have there not been some...
And neither Bill nor I happened ever to have been a woman.
Did I read someplace that they wanted to sometimes do like a gay version of and you said no, or the
because I know the difference between men and women. It wasn't written about two gay guys.
Yeah.
Or two lesbians. It was written about a straight couple.
Were you surprised when
why screw it up?
When the Zoo story was such a fabulous success? And abroad first, and then...
Yeah, in Berlin. That is world's premiere in Berlin.
Were you surprised?
I don't know. I guess I must have been, but it wasn't that I was expecting either success or failure. I didn't have any idea.
You have an awfully good ego, don't you? As far as not being intimidated.
A healthy one. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the word choice. that the critics, even though you say there's two kinds of people, like critics and human beings.
I've been known to say.
Yes, I think you have.
I say that the week that I'm not getting a good review.
Do the reviews, does a bad review hurt? I mean, I've had some bad reviews.
Well, look, bad reviews, if they're not helpful, if they're not useful, yeah. An unfavorable review, if it doesn't tell you anything about how you're practicing your craft, yeah. is merely going to tell you that the play isn't going to run long, and you better find money somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I prefer a critic who can tell me something about how I'm doing my job, not just whether the play is going to run or not, or whether that critic seems to think that an audience should be forced to see it.
You know, I make a distinction between a reviewer who's just telling you if it's worth 50 or $100 or whatever it is, or $9.95 at the movie theater, $10, and a critic who really puts it in the context of similar kind of plays or the genre of the time. A critic
who knows his or her business.
Yeah.
There are some of those.
Now at the play last night, Peter and Jerry. So we got the prequel. I wanted to ask you about that.
I hate that term.
Well, I was going to ask you, is it done in literature at all or much?
No.
Where you got a standing piece of work?
Yeah, the term prequel is a journalistic term that has nothing to do with anything.
Oh, but sequel is used, isn't it?
No, well, they're both awful.
Both awful. You don't like either one of them. So the woman next to me at the end of the first act, where you get to know Peter and his wife,
yeah.
is moved to tears, and I thought it proper to give her her moment.
We need her as a critic.
Say it again?
We need her as a critic.
Well, she just wanted to say hello. She just loved you. And I gave her a space, to sit with her feelings. And then when I came back, I said, you were very moved at the end of the first act. Why? Or can I ask you why?
Mm.
And she said, and she just shook her head, and she said, we're never satisfied, are we? It's never enough. And here we have a husband and wife, and they are kind of, it's never enough. You always want to go deeper, and you never can get inside somebody else, can you? I mean, their history, their brain.
Well, the more you can get inside yourself, the more likely you are to be able to get inside other people.
Yeah, but how many people do you think are introspective in that way?
I think more people are capable of introspection than are willing to be introspective.
Oh, sure. Don't you think it's the nature of human beings to want to go inside themselves? And I mean, my whole thing is, what makes people tick? Why?
A lot of people don't want to do that.
You don't want to do. Why is that? Why is that? Because it's too scary, or what?
You learn bad stuff. You learn frightening stuff.
And then you got to change.
Yourself and about other people.
You got to change then, huh?
Of course, yes.
You use a phrase someplace in my reading about being fully alive. What does that being fully alive mean to you?
Walking along the edge of the cliff, not being afraid of falling over.
Oh, but that's scary.
Yeah, but it's the only way to know right from left.
Right. I was going to say right from wrong, but I would say healthy or unhealthy and not right from wrong. In your plays, you want to push the envelope, don't you?
Yeah.
You want to take risks.
I want to hold a mirror up to people and say, hey, look at this. This is the way you behave. This is who you are. If you don't like it, why don't you change?
In the zoo story, and we don't want to, we want to say that it's playing here now in New York, and then a number of your works are going to be in this area. 4 this year, huh?
4 separate productions.
How do you feel about that? Is that pretty exciting?
As long as nobody thinks it was something that I thought up.
It's not like a retrospective.
I'm having one of my unimaginable birthdays in March. And I don't want people to think that I was arranging all of this as self-celebration. It just happened by accident, but that's nice.
This, Me, Myself, and I.
That's the brand new play.
That's the brand new play. Now
that's opening in January at Princeton University, then coming into New York.
You say, talk about holding a mirror up to, this is about identical twins, isn't it? And you got Otto with a capital O-T-T-O, and then a kind of another character whose name is
his twin brother with a small Otto, yes.
And you say, don't try to figure it out. I mean, just let it happen to you as
That's
it
true with
as it
all
comes.
of, that's true with all of the plays. Let the experience happen. Two things are dangerous. If people go into the theater having predetermined the nature of the theatrical experience they're willing to have, that's bad. And if people sit there not letting the play occur to them and sit there thinking, gee, I wonder if I understand what that means, or is that a symbol, or that sort of stuff, that's dangerous too.
Isn't it the beauty of the theater that you get brought into it in the present tense?
That's the big importance of theater. It is in the present tense.
Yeah, it is. You get sucked in.
And movies you know have happened. You know they're in the past tense.
You know, there was just a line that Mel Brooks said in an interview that he did about doing film and waiting for a year and a half to find out something you thought was funny is going to get a laugh in the movie theater. Yes. Whereas here now, you know right away. You say that the plays, and yours certainly, should be a tough experience.
They should be an involving experience, and if it happens to be tough, that means that it's probably even more useful for you.
But you know what I thought last night about the zoo story is nowadays, would he have sat on that bench for that long?
It's interesting. When the play was first done, when the zoo story was done by itself, it wasn't dangerous.
Yes.
New York City wasn't that dangerous.
Yes.
And you could be approached by somebody who was clearly a lunatic and put up with it.
Yeah.
But for the past 20 years, as I've watched New York devolve, whenever I direct the play, I have to tell the character playing Peter, Jerry rather, the so-called outsider, calm it down a little bit, be more shrewd, be more subtle, or else Peter's going to get up right up off that bench and leave because he'll be scared of you. You have to modulate the performance according to the environment.
And he's very engaging.
Yes.
The actor who plays it, very, very engaging. So you and I know I would probably talk to him, you know, because I would want to know his story.
That's right.
But
that performance which, that Dallas Roberts is giving, which is a splendid performance, is very different than the performance that who played it originally? Can't remember now. It's gone out of my mind. George Maharis.
Did he play that?
Yeah, George played that originally.
My word.
He was really good, but he played it as a real lunatic.
Well, you know what my sister says, in the movie theater, you know, if they're talking behind you, get up and move.
Sure.
You don't turn around and challenge somebody in a theater now. You get up and move. That's the way it all happens. I was thinking about you walking along Broadway with all the neon and neon signage. That must not make you overly happy.
Well, I don't know. This is a very strange area, Times Square.
It is.
It's not getting any prettier.
What do you think about Disney on Broadway? I mean, that must...
What troubles me most about the film companies doing musicals, all musicals, of course, on Broadway, is that they are not respectful of the Dramatists Guild contract. They are trying to hire playwrights the way they hire people to write movies. And they're doing serious damage to the rights of playwrights.
Okay, I'm glad that you mentioned that. 2008, are we at a kind of a cultural crossroads? But also this is a big election year. I know you feel very strongly about that.
I sure do.
Tell me.
I won't even, I keep getting invited to the White House for one thing or another. I decided 5 years ago that I couldn't possibly go back until we got rid of Bush.
Oh, what comes to you? What makes you angry?
Well, first of all, it was my opinion that he was not elected, but he was appointed president in a coup d'état, supported by the Republican-dominated Supreme Court. I think he's been probably the most destructive president we've ever had. He's done more damage to civil liberties in this country than any president. I don't understand why people are sitting there so quietly watching their democracy be eroded around them. I wouldn't be completely surprised, and I've talked to a few other people about this, if this group in power now didn't find some way, some emergency to make the election a bad idea. It's possible. I'm that mistrustful of these people. I think they're dangerous and destructive.
America as a whole, optimistic, pessimistic?
We're still a democracy. We have the chance of continuing our evolutionary process, but only if we participate in government and participate in knowing who the people we elect are, and if we know what the problems are and what people really mean by what they're saying in government. If we have to involve ourselves more in the democratic process to have it survive, or else it can go away. It's a very fragile thing. And here's the thing about democracy. We can have anything we want, but we get what we deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be with you again.
Dennis Wholey's new book is Why Do I Keep Doing That? Why Do I Keep Doing That? Breaking the Negative Patterns in Your Life. Available at your local bookstore.
Visit our website at thisisamerica.net for online video and weekly podcasts. Special thanks to Korean Air and the Korea Tourism Organization. This is America is made possible by Hyundai Motor America, maker of the 2007 Sonata. The National Education Association, the nation's largest advocate for children and public education. The Rotendaro Family Trust, the CTC Foundation, and the American Life TV Network.